Today I'm going to show you how to make skin texture from scratch in Photoshop. Hey there, welcome to Phlearn. My name's Aaron Nace. You can find me at Twitter at AKNacer. Chat with me about this or anything else that you guys want. That's what I'm here for. Today, I'm going to show you a revolution, a breakthrough, a marvel in technology. I'm going to show you how to create skin texture from scratch, completely from scratch. So this means if there's any area that you find you needed to really do quite a bit of retouching on someone's face and all their skin texture is just totally gone, I'm going to show you guys how to make it completely anew. So this is our image today. This is from Jason. It's a self-portrait. Very, very cool self-portrait. He was one of our winners from the low key contest, which ended yesterday. We've got a new contest going on now. So make sure to submit your images to the close-up contest. It's the episode right before this one in case you need it. But one thing we're going to do for this is I'm going to show you how to create skin texture. So to get there, what we're going to do is I'm going to zoom into Jason's face. He's a good looking dude, so I don't think he'll mind any of this stuff. What we're going to do is I'm just going to kind of get rid of this little area. These are, areas under your eyes. I have them, everyone has them, but sometimes in photographs you want to get rid of them. So I'm going to show you a way to get rid of them using the brush tool, because I use the brush tool quite a bit. So using the brush tool, you can use a clone stamp tool or a healing brush tool. Let's just say, for an example's sake, you're going to use the brush tool and sample these colors and then just kind of paint right over this area. There we go. Now, using the brush tool is actually a really good way to get rid of this sort of thing, because you're not really restricted to really anything in your image other than what you're sampling and painting. In other words, it's very similar to traditional painting in that you can pretty much shape things however you want. Let's just zoom out and maybe get this a little bit lighter as well. I use this method a lot when I'm retouching because it's just a very nice way of kind of getting everything nice and even. All right, let's erase that just a little bit. There we go. And as long as it looks, relatively decent from far away, then your shape and everything like that's pretty good. Let's just bring that a little bit dark in there. There we go. Okay, so we're basically just kind of getting rid of that. Let's paint this a little bit darker from the right to the left. And there we go. Kind of fix this out. Make it nice and even there. Okay, so this is all just using the brush tool. Now, not saying you guys have to do this, but there are going to be techniques that you use throughout time when you're editing in Photoshop that probably are going to just destroy a little bit of skin texture. So this is just going to show you guys how to get it all back if you want to. Okay, so we've done that. We've painted over the area, and you can see from zoomed out, it looks pretty good. It doesn't look like it's a little bit dark right there. But other than that, we can see we've basically just gotten rid of that area. But if you zoom in, you can see we've got a bit of, it's just paint right over here. There's no skin texture at all. So now what we're going to do is show you guys how to add that skin texture completely from scratch. So the first thing we're going to do, it's kind of complex, but I think you guys will get it because you're awesome. First thing we're going to do, we're going to create a new layer, and I'm going to grab my marquee tool, and we're just going to make a selection over the area that we actually want to affect. And a larger area, it doesn't need to be accurate or anything like that. Okay, now we're going to hit Shift Delete, and we're going to fill this using 50% gray. So on our new layer, we filled it with 50% gray, completely full, and we're good to go. Let's go ahead and now go to Filter. We're going to go down here to Noise, and I'm going to go to Add Noise. There we go. So this is the first part. Very important. First fill with 50% gray, and then add noise. You can just keep all this stuff checked. I'm going to click on monochromatic, just going to make things black and white, which is going to look good. All right, we're going to hit OK. Now what we're going to do is a couple of things. I'm going to go ahead, let's deselect, and we're going to convert this into a smart object because there are a couple of filters that I want to apply to this, but I want those filters to be able to be edited later. So this has to be a smart object for this to work, and I'll show you guys why in a second. So we're going to right click on this, and I'm going to go over here to convert to smart object. Okay, so everything still looks the same, just got a little bit of an icon there that says, it says it's a smart object. I'll show you guys why that's really cool in a second. Now let's go ahead and change this from normal. We're going to change this to soft light, which is going to make some of these areas darker and some of them lighter. And you can probably start to get the idea, dark light, dark light. It's like skin texture. It kind of has little bumps in it and things like that. Okay, so that's the first step in the process, is getting your noise on there, getting it to be a soft light. Now, if you guys have been watching Phlearn, you'll know that we use things called clipping masks quite often. And what that's going to do is it's going to keep one layer visible where another layer is visible. I'll give you guys just a quick example in case you've never seen a clipping mask before. They're really cool. Okay, on a new layer, I'm just going to paint over here just like that with some pink. Why not? And on a layer right above it, we'll just grab green and I'll paint over like that. Now, if I want this green to only be visible where the pink is, all you have to do is right click and go to create clipping mask. And now this green is going to be visible only where the pink is. It's got a little arrow that tells you what layer it's clipping down to. So it's just a very cool way to be able to restrict these guys. If you want to unclip it, just right click and go release clipping mask. And it's totally normal layers. You can still change blending modes. You can do all kinds of things. It's just a way to kind of create a quick mask. All right, let's delete those. And now it's the same principle that's going to apply. We have this noise, but I don't want it showing up all of his face and over here, and I don't really feel like making a layer mask. So what we're going to do is just the area that I painted with my paintbrush here, the area that in your photo probably doesn't have a lot of skin texture, we're going to take this right above it, and I'm going to right click and go to create clipping mask. There we go. So it automatically now only shows up exactly where we painted. So we see we have skin texture where we painted. Now, it's a bit rough, I know, but it's in the right place. So that's already, we're off to a good start. So we've painted over there, we've got a rough skin texture on there. Now it's time to add our filters. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go up here to filter, we're going to go to blur, and I'm going to go to Gaussian blur. And we're going to blur the skin texture a little bit because right now it's just a little bit too rough. Now we can bring our radius up and down, and we can kind of see here what it looks like there with our skin texture. We can see that that's radius is too high. So as I bring it down, you can see starting to blur less and less, and something like that, we'll just keep it right there. We just want it to keep from looking like it's really grainy. So we'll hit OK there. Now, because we're using smart filters, we can turn these off and on. I can turn my Gaussian blur off and on anytime I want on that layer. Not only that, but I can change these settings in a little bit. So we're going to get to our second filter, and then we're going to go start and play around. So our second filter, we're going to go to filter. I'm going to go down here to and we're going to go to stylize and emboss. I don't do this every day, but some days that I do. Okay, now the emboss filter is going to make things look like they're just kind of, you can see it right over here in this little preview. It's going to make it look like some of these grains are higher and some of them are lower. So again, this is looking a bit more like skin texture. All right, let's turn the Gaussian blur off real quick and look at just the emboss. There we go. So you can see it's kind of making these look higher and lower. The cool thing about this is we can double click on this filter and I can change things like my angle at any point in time. Because we used the smart object to do this, I can change all of these settings at any point in time. So if I want my height to be, if it was too much, we can bring our height up and bring our height down. We can change the amount. If we want more skin texture, you do that. If you want less, you can do this as well. There we go. We're going to hit OK. So all these settings are important because I won't know the exact settings that are going to work. I need to go in here and play around. That's why we made it a smart object, which then allows you to change these things after the fact. You can change your filters after you've applied them if you're working on a smart object. You can also click right here and you can change your actual opacity as well. So if you want the emboss opacity to be lower, you can do that here as well, which is very, very cool. Let's turn this Gaussian blur on again, which is just, you can see it's blurring that emboss we had. It's too much, so we're just going to bring this down a little bit and hit OK. And there we go. We can kind of turn that off and see that maybe that's too little, 0.2. That's going to just give it a little bit of a blur. There we go. So having both of these on, and I'm just kind of, emboss is a good way to get something to do looking like it's actually interacting with light, and the Gaussian blur just takes those like tiny little specks that we put on there from the noise and just kind of makes them a little bit larger and softer edges. So again, we're just kind of recreating skin texture by doing this. And with these smart filters, it really does help out. So let's just go ahead and zoom out and we can see what our skin texture looks like that we've added completely from scratch in Photoshop. So there's the before, the skin texture, and there's the after. And again, the best reason, let's just zoom out and you can see it really does look just like skin texture here. The best reason for this the best reason to use this is that you can totally change any of these things at any point in time. Now also keep in mind this is clipped. So if I decide on this layer, remember we selected a rather large area. If I decided on this area to continue painting around, There we go. We can see that no matter what I paint here on this layer, it's going to have that same skin texture applied. Even if, even if I completely paint everything away, look at that. It still has that skin texture applied because this is our skin texture layer that's just over and above it. So this isn't how I would recommend you edit your entire image. And obviously, skin texture around an eye is going to be very different from a cheek. So, keep that in mind as well. It might be a little bit smaller grain and things like that. But if I did continue to decide to paint over here, you can see obviously I'm totally changing the shape of his face at this point, but it'll still all have skin texture because I've added it on this layer, and it's always going to show up right over top. So I'm just going to erase that away. I was just showing you guys it'll continue to work over on top of everything else. But that is how we create skin texture from scratch in Photoshop. Awesome tutorial, guys, and I hope you got all this. So using those smart objects is a really great way to go in there and change those settings after you've already applied them and get the perfect amount of skin texture, perfect size, perfect amount of blur, perfect amount of embossiness to make awesome skin texture. Thanks so much for watching Phlearn, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. We have a lot more tutorials here on Phlearn.com. We'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone. What do you get when a retoucher needs to get their way? Embossiness.